So recently on stream, someone asked me how I feel about what's my stance on woke games and movies, and my answer was that I typically just don't pay attention to any of that sort of thing. I don't really care. I just want games to be good games, and I just right. I'm not as worried about shows, but ideally I would want good movies and shows. But I just want good games, and that's my stance. The world's kind of a mess at the moment, and as Americans, we are hell bent on piling on the chaos. but but I generally think that most people who come and watch my small channel are there to watch games and avoid the culture wars, if anything. And frankly, the only reason I'm there is to play games and avoid doom scrolling social media. So I try to keep sort of a very apolitical, sort of middle of the road stance on videos and streams. But I did think about it a little bit because I have been asked actually more than once about it. It is on a few people's minds, and after thinking about it, I did want to add something to my stock answer, right? And not only do I not really care about the woke anti-woke battle which often rages on the internet and social media, but I do feel it's pointless, and beyond that, sort of a cynically manufactured bullshit argument meant to distract us and divide us from stuff that matters. But even and that we could go all in on, but again, I'm being apolitical, right? But so let's keep the games, even on things like the games and media. The concept of whether something's woke or not woke, it has nothing to do with the actual point, right? It's simply rage bait. It's there to feed our weird need that our monkey brains have to be annoyed at something righteously. Right? To have our angriest feelings justified because that guy feels the same way, and that's a dopamine hit. People love that crap, right? And so you make a video on that, and then that gets views, and people, and then that gets rewarded by the algorithm, and the engagement algorithms push those videos, and then you get paid out by Twitter or you get paid out by YouTube. Um, there have always been internet trolls, and there have always been pointless arguments about Tolkien on the internet, but it has never paid better than right now. So, and I do hate the game industry's current anti-consumer vector. Like, they are on, a bad trend. Absolutely. We're looking at $70 games that are going to be filled with awful writing and sort of a mediocre open world design, loot boxes, microtransactions, and of course we're going to have a live service model that no one cares for, no one asks for. And somehow that game is going to score 9 out of 10s across the board, and yet it will still lose 95% of its player base and be a shambling husk of itself in 2 weeks. And that's probably IGN's game of the year. Yay. Right, because you do have this weird vibe where the reviewers are sort of in bed with the companies too, right? There's a whole regulatory capture, but in games journalism kind of gig. And yes, there's a lot to dislike about sort of recent movies and recent TV shows, because we are, again, in the age of sort of mediocre nostalgia bait reboots. Was there any real need to have the Velma origin story? If you're a fan of older Star Wars or older Trek, you probably have a little bit to be sad about or complain about, right? There's been a lot of crappy Star Wars and Star Trek content produced in recent years, and I watched a couple Marvel movies. I'm not a big, I'm sort of done with superhero movie, but a lot of that has been, a lot of the recent ones have been by, not well received. Um, but is that stuff bad because it's woke, whatever that means, or is it bad because it's bad? Because it's written poorly, you know, because of plot holes and poor story structure and bad character development. And there's good progressive woke media. Old Star Trek, for instance, Star Trek has been woke. Old Trek was very progressive for its time, and Next Generation is absolutely 100% progressive and diverse and widely considered to be good media. It's not my Star Trek. My Star Trek is Captain Kirk punching lizard guys with that sure to break all your fingers double-fisted punch. That's my Trek. But I do appreciate Jean-Luc Picard and Riker and the Next Generation. MASH was great TV, and it was woke. West Wing. And supposedly someone told me, oh, Baldur's Gate 3 was woke. Was Baldur's Gate 3 woke? I thought it was just horny. Someone get those elves some saltpeter and cornflakes and a bucket of ice water, please. Please. So while I do agree with some of the points made by these online media pundits, as soon as I hear a screed about pronouns or DEI or the message and I can almost understand this with Tolkien because a lot of us grew up with Tolkien. But as soon as I hear an argument about preserving the Anglo-Saxon origins of the Little Mermaid or Snow White, I can't imagine that you are arguing in good faith anymore. I just can't. I can't picture it. And at that point, you are also just pushing an agenda. And so, I again, I can agree with certain points, but I think the delivery and the agenda is something I want to stay away from. So that's it. It's a little bit of a uncharacteristic media rant, but I have been asked 2 or 3 times about it, and a couple times online and a couple times actually offline, strangely enough. And so, so that's my stance. My stance is let's remain agendaless here, and let's just hang out and we'll play games and we'll bitch about games and we'll talk about games and hopefully enjoy each other's company. That's it. Thank you very much and good night.